Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Monday's edition of the dceu Daily. Please stay to the end of the video for my Top Gun Maverick non-spoiler review. In the history of DC live action, there have been some very, very good movies, but mostly it's been an industry, a franchise of different calamities involving creative bankruptcy. And this goes back to the early days when they sacked Richard Donner. Richard Donner directed Superman the movie, one of the most celebrated comic book movies of all time, breaking the mold, creating new techniques in VFX to make a man fly. And they sacked him because he wanted to spend money to make the best movies. He was planning 5 or 6 Superman movies, a Supergirl movie, a Batman movie. He was creating his very own DC Extended Universe. The man was a pioneer. Who do you think trained Kevin Feige? In fact, he was planning to have Kevin Feige replace him when it was time for him to retire. So Richard Donner was creating something amazing. And if that would have happened, we would have been so far ahead of the game right now, because Feige wouldn't be at Marvel, ever. Not for X-Men, not for Raimi's Spider-Man, not for nothing. He would have been with DC. We would have had 2 pioneering kind of eras of DC live-action franchises. But no, and it goes beyond what they did to Richard Donner. You know, there's the many aborted attempts to do a Superman movie since the 4 Superman movies. Justice League movies, so many things that could have happened that didn't happen because this studio has been led by creatively bankrupt people for many, many years now. In fact, right now, we are in a DC franchise that is in a chasm of a mess. And that's why today I want to talk about Michael Keaton's role in the DCEU, his future, the motivation of bringing him in the DC Extended Universe, and if we're actually, or if you, because I've seen the Flash movie, of course, if you will ever see Michael Keaton in the Flash. But I really want to focus on his role in Batgirl, because I think that's very, very important. So Michael Keaton was brought in the Flash movie to play a multiversal version of Batman. You know, and now I could spoil it for you and tell you what Batman he plays, if he's playing the Tim Burton Batman or not. We won't go into that. What are the motivations of Walter Hamada bringing him in? Number one, he is a very popular version of Batman, the first theatrical movie version of Batman. A lot of people, if not most, love Michael Keaton's Batman, but originally they went for Ray Liotta, which would have been a great idea, but Ray turned it down. He definitely would have been better than Keaton, but I love Keaton. The motivation with Keaton is nostalgia, because there's a problem with Batman, and the problem is they cast a young Robert Pattinson version of Batman, or Matt Reeves did, but it's in another universe. So what do you do with the central Batman? You've got Ben Affleck, who either doesn't want to be involved in anymore because of their creative bankruptcy and all their decisions, you know, connected to Zack Snyder, or because they didn't want him to continue. So they've already got a young Batman in Matt Reeves' universe. So they're kind of thinking, what do we do now? So what they do is they come up with this idea of bringing in Michael Keaton as Batman. Now, their ideas for Superman, again, there's an issue with Henry Cavill. Either he doesn't want to be involved, which we know is not true, because he's blatantly said publicly he does want to be involved. So they don't want him to be involved. So instead of casting another Superman, they come up with this perler of an idea to actually replace Superman with Supergirl. And so you bring him an older Batman for nostalgia bait, but you won't continue with another Superman. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, let's focus on Keaton's Batman for today. So we already know that there's a problem with Ezra Miller, the Flash movie, etc., etc., etc. So the reality is here, and these are just opinions by me, I don't know any facts, but it's my opinion that there's a very good chance that the Flash movie will either be shelved or Ezra Miller will be totally sacked and they'll start again with a brand new actor and a brand new version that isn't a multiversal strategy. So if you cancel the Flash movie and Keaton's not in the one that they remake, or he's just not going to be in it because they shelved the movie, what happens to Batgirl? Because ultimately, he is in Batgirl. But he's not introduced in the Flash movie if you lot don't get to see the Flash movie. So what happens here? It's very interesting, isn't it? So I believe the reason we haven't got a Batgirl release date is because they're planning on going back and reshooting that movie. Why? Is there a problem with that movie? No. From what I'm hearing, the movie is great. I believe they're going to remove Michael Keaton from this movie. And again, I agree, very, very problematic, and lots of people will be upset about that. I'm a Michael Keaton fan. Most of you are a Michael Keaton fan. This was one of the few reasons why we were excited for the multiversal strategy. But again, I'll stress that they were happy to bring in Michael Keaton as Batman, but they weren't willing to give us a version of Superman in this brand new multiversal strategy. Doesn't make sense. Creative bankruptcy, yet again, rearing its ugly head. And so this is what I believe. And you can put your comments down below. Or if you're watching the premiere by the side of me here, or is it here, or whatever. Anyway, either side of me, wherever the comments are, let me know what you think about my little theory. I believe they are going to reshoot the Batgirl movie and cut Michael Keaton out. Now, you would have to reshoot it because you can't just cut his scenes out because maybe they reference him in other scenes as well. It's problematic. You could cut all of that, but it would look like a weird movie. We know they've done that before, just cut certain characters out of movies. It doesn't work and it makes the movie look bad, narratively. So if they are planning on cutting out Michael Keaton, they would have to start again. How realistic is this theory of mine? Well, considering it's a theory of mine, I think this is very realistic because you've got to give me another reason why there's not a release date for this movie. The truth is, most of the time, when they finish a movie or during a movie's production, you kind of know when the movie is going to be released. But we don't know when this movie is going to be released. It's a bit of a mystery. So if you kind of say, well, Mick, sometimes they wait a while until they give you a release date. Fine, right, fine. Sometimes in trailers they say coming soon, right, fine. Right, so let's have a look at this, right? This is the only movie without a release date. So Blue Beetle, right, is being filmed right now. And we know when it's being released. Do you see? So that's the comparison I'm giving you. So if I'm so far from the truth, why don't we have a release date for Batgirl? It's because they're making plans to cut out Michael Keaton because David Zaslav doesn't want to release the Flash movie. As Mickey Sutton said, he likes sure things, and he's absolutely right about that. And the Flash movie certainly isn't a sure thing. Remember, I've seen the movie and you haven't. Now, I will be honest that I enjoyed watching this movie, but there are issues. And the big issue really is Supergirl, Superman. There's issues in this film that are going to cause a problem. But also replacing Supergirl, replacing Superman, with Supergirl is a non-starter. We all know that. And so I believe they're going to go out of their way to reshoot this movie, get rid of Batman. And yes, I am stating today on today's DCEU Daily here on Movies TV Mad that Michael Keaton will no longer be playing Batman in the DCEU. Basically, you will never see Michael Keaton in Batgirl or the Flash movie. Now, just in case I'm proven wrong, here's the disclaimer. I hope I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll hold my hands up. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. In a world where people can't accept being wrong, I have been wrong in a lot of, lots of chapters of my real life and wrong on this channel. But I'm just doing a video where I'm making a prediction. I'm trying to add 2 and 2 together and make 4. I'm joining the dots together. And I've already given you a great comparison that Blue Beetle is being filmed. It has a date. Originally released on HBO Max. Now it's going to be released through the theatrical system. So, there's the evidence for you. So let me know in the comments below what you think. So that's my portion of today's DCEU Daily, that I believe Michael Keaton will not be in the DCEU and that you lot we'll never see him in the DCEU. Please let me know in the comments what you think about that. Did you stay to the end? Did you stay for my Top Gun Maverick non-spoiler review? Well, here it is. Top Gun Maverick has an opening weekend of just under 300 million. That's an amazing opening box office. Now, I know for a fact that the MCU does more than that, but not by much. It's amazing. It's you know, when you think about it, this is a sequel to a movie that was released in 1986. How many years ago is that, by the way? This is a direct sequel as well. So let's count, because my maths isn't automatically that good. So that's 96, 2006, 16. Basically over 30 years ago. And people have come in their droves, because let me explain to you what the original Top Gun was. And this is very interesting to me. You know, this is a typical American movie. It's about war. It's about good-looking, cool people in planes. My gun's bigger than yours. Hee-hee! Let's go, brother. And it's absolutely fantastic. Now, let me be clear here. I don't celebrate those kind of things in the real world. But when it comes to a movie, it still works. And Tom Cruise has actually proven that. I was watching an hour-long interview that, what's his name? Not Billy Zane. I forgot his bloody name now. Anyways, the guy who does the movie interviews and movie stuff on Sky. And he was interviewing Tom Cruise for an hour. And it was brilliant for him to say that he got the studio heads, the cast, to re-watch Top Gun together. And you know, the studio heads were going, there's no need for this, we know what it is. He goes, no, you don't. The heart of Top Gun is Goose and his death. It isn't Maverick being cool, it isn't the guns, it isn't the planes, it's Goose. Because Goose is Maverick's family. And when he loses Goose, he loses everything. Now, I know he's a flying instructor, Kelly McGillis is his love interest, and he's got her, but it's not the same. Literally, Goose was his brother. So Tom Cruise actually understands what made Top Gun work. So this film has the same heart and soul. In a lot of ways, and not in a blatant way, by the way, because some people can say, but I'm going to say that Goose is actually the heart, in a lot of ways, of this movie as well. And so we know that, you know, Goose's son is in this movie, and that is a relevant portion of the movie. But this is really a character study on Maverick. This is about someone who's older, who has to accept that he's older, that he can't do what he used to do. But that's not going to come easily, because that doesn't come easily to any of us. I mean, I'm a 49-year-old guy, and even now I get tired doing the jogs around my property every morning and the weights and the swimming, but I still do it. I don't have the greatest of bodies, but I try my best. So it's about all of that. But it's also introducing a new generation of characters. Now, we saw a film attempt the same thing, and it was Independence Day 2. They had all these new characters in it, and it didn't work because they were all very attractive and cool actors, but they had no character development. They weren't interesting. Well, the new characters in this film are all absolutely interesting. Of course, the planes look amazing. The sequences up in the air are amazing, because this is Tom Cruise. And in this hour interview on Sky, he was explaining that basically he hates CGI and he wants everything in the camera. Don't forget, this man is actually shooting a film in space, and I think it's hilarious that people actually thought he was going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That was never going to happen. I know there was this thing where he was going to be Iron Man originally, but he turned it down. Look, you know, capes isn't Tom's thing, and I don't ever expect to see him in the MCU or the DCEU or the new DC live action franchise that Hamada is creating. Now, I would celebrate him being involved. When I see him talk and promote this movie and other movies, you know what I wish? I wish he was our producer. I wish he was the man driving DC. He probably doesn't know anything about DC, but it's the prolific way he goes into his movies. In a lot of ways, I'm surprised he even uses directors, because literally, in most of his films these days, mostly the action films, he's an uncredited director. If you go and watch his interview on Sky, you know, you'll see how he talks about everything. Because when he was a young man in Top Gun, he sat in the meetings. He wanted to know the process of actually making films. And I attempted to do this when I was in Hollywood. I tried to be around people, you know, not big name people, but people that have worked on a movie set before, you know, and it kind of knocked on their brain to inform me what you do to make a movie. How is it possible? How does that thing get up on the screen? How do you do it? It's hard work, I can tell you that. But seeing it on the big screen when you finished it must be a beautiful thing, and it makes that hard work so worth it. You see, Tom Cruise is old Hollywood. So what you see, it's interesting, on the same week we saw Kenobi, a very badly written and directed show, we saw Top Gun Maverick, a sequel. Don't forget that, a sequel to over a 30-plus-year-old movie. And Kenobi is a sequel to the prequels. The first prequel was released in 1999, the final one in 2005. It's a similar situation, right? So Kenobi wasn't done well, and I've only seen 2 episodes. We've only seen 2 episodes. It may get better, and I'm willing to change my mind about it if I watch more, and I will re-watch those opening episodes to be more informed about it. I'm like that. I don't make a final decision. I give things a chance. So it just shows you that old Hollywood works better than new Hollywood. New Hollywood is about politicians. Politicians now make the decisions on what movies and television shows we're going to see. And it's about their political propaganda. It's not about the art. It's not about our experience on the screen. But old Hollywood is all about that. The mentality in old Hollywood is, if we make the best fucking thing, then we're going to please people and make people happy, which is great. Plus, they're going to fucking give us money. So what's the negative here? There's not. Now, don't get me wrong. It's full of extreme left politics in old Hollywood. It is. But it's not blatant. They don't bash you over their head with a hammer. That's the difference. I've mentioned Falling Down, starring Michael Douglas before. That's about toxic masculinity, but you can't tell. And that's okay, that's your opinion, right? And it's an interesting film, and I can still go back and watch it because I don't have, you know, the director and the actor bleating on about toxic masculinity, neither in the film or in the marketing. That's the difference between old Hollywood and new Hollywood. And this weekend, we saw the re-emergence of old Hollywood. Because these politicians making the decisions, making your movies and streaming shows today, are losing money for these studios. And for many years they said, we don't care, we don't need you, we're just going to push our propaganda. But now, what happened was the pandemic cost them a lot of freaking money. So you've got Tom Cruise and Paramount making Mission Impossible. Awesome. Excuse me. Frog in my throat, please excuse me, can't be helped. But so you've got Tom Cruise at Paramount making the Tom Cruise movies. As I say, I don't even know why he uses a director. It's like he uses the directors as a sounding board. Tom Cruise is like the director, producer, writer and actor on his movies now. Now, his movies are not particularly deep, they're not pushing a message, but they're telling good stories and they're exciting. I've only seen Mission Impossible 1 once or twice. Same with number 2 and all the Mission Impossible films. But I enjoyed them. People enjoy them and look forward to seeing those chapters. You know, it's an experience to watch a Tom Cruise movie. And it's a lot of fun. And I think that's the difference. Because how the MCU sees fun, which is a gag in an MCU movie, isn't the way Tom Cruise sees a fun movie. The fun is in the excitement, the adventure, the adrenaline rush. It's like what I said the other day. There's the extreme left in Hollywood now who say it's good to see yourself on the screen. But Tom Cruise's Hollywood, old Hollywood, says it's good to look up to someone cool on the screen. Whether you're a man, woman, black or white, it doesn't matter what that person's identity is, what his cultural background is on the screen. It's about what that person represents. It's the aspirational element, you know, going against seeing yourself on the screen. Seeing myself on the screen never did anything for me. And you're going to say, well, Mick, you've always seen yourself on the screen. You've seen a lot of men. I have. But I also saw Mr. T, aka B.A. Baracus, every week in the A-Team, and I wanted to be him. Yes, I wanted to be a black man. That shoots this seeing yourself on the screen down in the water, doesn't it now? So a Greek Cypriot lad looked up to a black guy with a Mohican, because I was bullied at school, and this guy was tough. He stood up. Mr. T, in all the media, always used to stand up against bullying and stuff. So that guy really empowered me to stand up to my bullies. A black man. He wasn't me. I wasn't seeing myself on the screen. And he empowered many girls as well, because I know that for a fact. So this whole thing of seeing yourself on the screen is absolute bullshit. But seeing an aspirational hero like Martin Riggs, aka Mel Gibson, or Tom Cruise as Maverick, or Tom Cruise in Cocktail, you know, Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men, Tom Cruise in fucking anything. Tom Cruise may be a questionable human being in reality, but I don't care about these people's real lives. I only care about what they give me, because I ain't actually Superman. As much as I admire Superman as a character, I'm not Superman. So I can't right the wrongs of the world. So when I look at entertainers, I just want them to be entertainers. And if they commit crimes behind the scenes, like Kevin Spacey, I hope they're punished eventually. But I can't do anything about that. And that's my view on it. So Top Gun Maverick, just to finish off here, is an exhilarating, action-packed movie, but it has a heart. It has an emotional core. Now, I made a decision today not to do a spoiler review because I don't think that's fair. It's only just been released. Go and see the movie. It is absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10. More movies like this, please. But here's the thing. Nothing's going to change. Tom Cruise will continue to make movies like this and make money. And in the end, Paramount and Sony will take over and dominate the industry instead of Warner Brothers and Disney. Because what we see from this movie is that refreshing situation that we're not celebrating yet another Kate movie. And I love superheroes, as you know. I'm here talking about superheroes every goddamn day. I love them in film and television when they're done well. But if you've got so much of a good thing and a trend, but it's always the same thing, and if you're following and supporting DC, every film you hope to be great, and it lets you down, in the end you get fed up, bored, and you don't want to be involved in that. So go and watch Top Gun Maverick. It's absolutely fantastic. This has been the DCEU Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss his beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.